Hi, I'm Callie Cox, and today we'll be talking about intellectual disabilities. First, it is important to realize a few things. 1. Intellectual disabilities are not defined by a person's IQ score. 2. Prior to what people think, it is actually not easy to identify the cause of a person's disability. And 3. A person classified as intellectually disabled can move out of that classification. Now that we have some of the facts out of the way, let's discuss the definition of intellectual disabilities. First, it's important to understand that people are cautious when approaching this topic because some believe a diagnosis causes children to have poor concepts and be viewed negatively, and some professionals believe intellectual disabilities are a socially constructed condition. The current AAIDD definition of intellectual disabilities is as follows. It is characterized by limitations both in intellectual functioning and adaptive behavior. Before, it was common practice to diagnose an individual based on their IQ score, but IQ tests are not always perfect. They're only one indication on a person's ability. So, professionals started to consider adaptive behavior in addition to IQ scores. What is adaptive behavior, though? Well, adaptive behavior is the social and practical skills used in everyday lives. Professionals realized that and understood that students can still have street smarts, and students are still able to cope with different situations. While no single definition of adaptive behavior is accepted, professionals do agree that it consists of social intelligence and practical intelligence. Social intelligence is understanding and interpreting people and social interactions, while practical intelligence is the ability to solve everyday problems. Now that we have some of the basic definitions out of the way, it is so crucial and important to remember that students with intellectual disabilities are still able to improve. People with mild intellectual disabilities can improve to the point where they're actually no longer considered intellectually disabled. Most schools classify students with intellectual disabilities according to the severity of their condition. An IQ of 50 to 70 is considered mild. An IQ of 35 to 50 is considered moderate. An IQ of 20 to 35 is considered severe. And an IQ below 20 is considered intellectually disabled. In recent years, the prevalence figures for students identified as intellectually disabled has been well under 1%. This could be due to a combination of three things. 1. An increased use of adaptive behavior to diagnose intellectual disabilities. 2. An increased preference of labeling students with IQs in the 70s as learning disabled. And 3. An increased awareness of autistic spectrum disorder, or ASD. It is important to remember to say people first and disability second when referring to someone. Now that we have some of the surface topics out of the way for intellectual disabilities, I want to just talk about two videos. The first one is about Tim Harris, who opened up his own restaurant with help from his family. Although it closed in 2015 so he can move to Denver with his fiancée, he still has hope to open up another one. The second video is about Colette DeVito, who, after having multiple rejections from different bakeries that she applied for, she went ahead and decided to open up a business on her own.
I wake up at 5:30, get in the shower, do my morning routine, and go around 7 o'clock to come to work. I am so excited to go to work, so I do a dance off in the parking lot. It's a dance of magic. We serve breakfast, lunch, and hugs. The hugs are the best part. I am Tim Harris, and this is my place. Oh yeah. Hey guys, welcome to my place. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh. Those are the best part, buddy. I love you. Have you been here before?
No, I've never been here before.
Well, I'm Tim. I'm the owner. Tim's place is the special place to be at because it's run and operated by me. You guys are doing a great job back here. I love you guys. You guys are the best cooks ever. Since I was a kid, I wanted to own a restaurant, and I asked my dad to help me out. I'm very glad I did. Thank you, Dad. I love you so much.
I love you too, buddy. I'm very proud of you. When he was about 14 years old, he told us that someday he was going to own a restaurant. After we all gulped and gasped, we began to take him seriously, and the result is history in the making.
They support me so I can live up my dreams.
I'm amazingly proud of my brother. Just what he's accomplished in his lifetime. I mean, people can only dream, you know?
I love you, Mom.
I love you too, honey. As far as we know, we have not yet found another person with Down syndrome in this country that owns their own restaurant. We hope that other people will, though.
My favorite part of all is the people coming through that front door. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Sometimes customers get sad. I give them a hug and then they feel a lot better.
Oh, thank you, Tim.
The hugs are way more important than the food. The food is food, so. How about a double hug?
Yep, double hug.
Love you guys. I am a lean, mean hugging machine. Oh yeah.
So let me get this straight. So
Yeah.
you're a restaurateur
Yes.
and
A Special Olympic
Special
athlete.
Olympic athlete, and you
Yes.
won a gold medal.
I have won more medals than Michael Phelps. Oh yeah.
Colette DeVito says the secret to her company's cookie recipe is love.
Always be involved.
It's her way of pushing out all the haters in her life, her mom believes.
I think that all of that rejection for her made her say, I'll show them.
The 26-year-old from Boston has Down syndrome. The kitchen always makes her happy. But when she couldn't land a job in the baking industry, Colette got frustrated and broke some eggs. That's when her cookie business was born.
Money, honey.
At first, only one grocery store stocked her baked goods. But after a story on a local news channel, now she has 4,000 orders to fill across the country. Nothing is going to stop Colette from achieving her dreams, and she's giving others with disabilities a sweet taste of success.
They can do it.
That's the batter of her business.
It's good and it's done. Good job. High five. Step aside. Good job.
For InsideEdition.com, I'm Lee Sheps.
Causes of intellectual disabilities. In the past 20 years, there has been an upsurge of causes of research that has increased our understanding of intellectual disabilities. Not all intellectual disabilities are genetically related. A large percentage of cases, about 50%, remain for which we cannot pinpoint the cause. Prenatal causes. We group prenatal causes into chromosomal disorders, inborn errors of metabolism, developmental disorders affecting brain formation, and environmental influences. One chromosomal disorder is Down syndrome. It is usually not an inherited condition. It involves an anomaly at the 21st pair of chromosomes and is the most common form of intellectual disability that is present at birth. The degree of intellectual disability varies widely, but most fall in the moderate range. As a mother increases with age, so does the likelihood of having a child with Down syndrome. There are some methods available for screening for Down syndrome and other birth also defects. The age of the father. These are exposure to radiation screening, exposure to some viruses, chorionic villi sampling, and nuchal translucency ultrasound.
Prenatal genetic tests can be put into two categories. 1. Diagnostic tests, such as amniocentesis and chorionic villus sampling, CVS, can provide definitive yes or no results. However, these tests involve some risk, including a chance of miscarriage. 2. Screening tests include blood draws, such as maternal serum screening, prenatal cfDNA screening, and ultrasound. In general, screening tests pose no risk to the baby. However, they only tell you if the chance of a genetic condition or birth defect is higher or lower, and do not give you yes or no answers.
Fragile X syndrome is associated with the X chromosome in the 23rd pair of chromosomes. It is called Fragile X because the bottom of the X chromosome is pinched off in some of the blood cells. It occurs in 1 in 4,000 males and 1 in 6,000 females. Prader-Willi syndrome is mostly inherited from the father. They are at risk for a variety of health problems, which are short stature due to growth hormone deficiencies, heart defects, sleep disturbances, and scoliosis. The most serious mental problem is obesity. Williams syndrome is the absence of material on the 7th pair of chromosomes. The intellectual disabilities is in the mild to moderate range. Williams syndrome occurs without any prior family history and is not typically inherited. Inborn errors of metabolism result from inherited deficiencies in enzymes used to metabolize basic substances in the body. One of the most common is phenylketonuria, which involves the inability of the body to convert a common dietary substance to tyrosine. Developmental disorders of brain formation. There are two examples of structural development affecting the brain. They are microcephalus and hydrocephalus.
My name is Ella. I have hydrocephalus and it's time to get inside my head. In your brain you have a certain amount of liquid called cerebrospinal fluid, which drains away naturally into our body. When I was born, my body struggled to drain the right amount of fluid away from my brain. The doctors fitted a shunt, a rubber tube, to drain the excess fluid away to my tummy. But afterwards it left my head a bit jumbled up.
Prenatal causes. Anoxia is the complete deprivation of oxygen. Low birth weight can result in a variety of behavioral and medical problems, including intellectual disabilities, syphilis, and herpes simplex. It can be passed from mother to child during childbirth. Postnatal causes are separated by two categories. The first category is biological postnatal. Biological postnatal causes meningitis and encephalitis. These are both examples that can cause intellectual disabilities.
Psychosocial postnatal causes. Children who are raised in poor environmental circumstances are at risk of disabilities. Although environmental causes of mild intellectual disabilities are undeniable, heredity can also play a role. For many years, it's been assumed that psychosocial factors are the cause of the vast majority of cases of mild intellectual disabilities, whereas organic or biological factors are the cause of more severe intellectual disabilities. Identification. Number 1. Intelligence test calculated by dividing mental age by chronological age and multiplying by 100 provides a rough approximation of a person's IQ. Four reasons for caution. Number 1, an individual's IQ can change from one testing to another, and although not common, sometimes the change can be dramatic. Number 2, all IQ tests are culturally biased to a certain extent, largely because of differences in language and experiences. People from minority groups are sometimes. 3, the younger the children, the less validity the test has. Infant intelligence tests are particularly questionable. Number 4, IQ tests are not the absolute determinant when it comes to assessing a person's ability to function in society.
Adaptive behaviors. requires that a parent, teacher, or other professional answer questions related to the person's ability to perform adaptive skills. Psychological and behavioral characteristics. Working memory involves the ability to keep information in mind while simultaneously doing another cognitive task. Self-regulation is a broad term referring to the ability to regulate one's own behavior. Metacognition refers to a person's awareness of what strategies are needed to perform a task, the ability to plan how to use the strategies, and the evaluation of how well the strategies are needed to perform a task.
Systematic instruction is critical for students with intellectual disabilities.
And I'm Bo.
This is Bo's Coffee Shop.
We opened Biddy and Bo's Coffee because we were trying to address the unemployment rate for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. What we discovered through opening the shop was that it really wasn't about just creating jobs. We found that we had a vehicle for changing the way people saw people with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Of our 4 kids, our 2 little ones have Down syndrome. So we want to see the world be a little bit more accepting place for them.
I like to work here. It's my coffee shop. My sister Biddy.
I think Biddy and Bo have found a real identity in having the shop named after them. I love that Biddy and Bo have all of our team members to look up to, and they're friends, but they're also role models. All 40 of our employees have some form of intellectual or developmental disability, and they all bring a wonderful skill set to the job. And we figured out what that skill set was, and we plugged them in where they could be successful on the job.
Director First Impressions to me is that I help out customers wherever they want, and I say hey to them, and I always tell them good morning and stuff and high-five them.
It's my favorite place to visit because when you come in here, all that negativity that's in the world today just stays at the door. Whether you're coming in as a regular or as a first-time customer, they treat you like a family.
We go back to 12 years ago when our son was born. What did we know? We didn't know anything. And that's part of the point we're trying to make too. It really just takes people who care enough to make little adjustments in the workplace to modify the job just enough that the person with the developmental disability can do the job.
I think we realized we had a really solid way of changing the way people feel about people with intellectual disabilities. And once you change hearts and minds, then you change culture.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're really trying to do.
Bye-bye.